something keeps you from really surrendering into the full opportunity of seeing. And it takes the best form it can take in order to entice you to come that way, to move away from that central discovering. But it cannot do it by itself. It can only do it with your cooperation. And in the beginning, it can seem harmless enough. Just some returning feelings, a kind of sentiment about a certain way. And somehow it starts to build up more body, more texture, more color inside your mind. And you begin to think, yes, actually, I like to do this. Or in some cases, I can remember now as I'm speaking, of people who are coming into a real profundity of insight and seeing. And immediately they start to say things like, I think now I can go back in the world now because I kind of know what it is, and I see that it's just a play, but somehow something is calling me to go back and to express this and to do this. I says, not yet. Finish your dinner. Not yet. This is the kind of subtlety I'm speaking. It becomes a kind of avoidance, another misdirection, another distraction. But it cannot function without you, because there's nothing called a distraction. It's just you are distracted. There's not a thing called distraction. There's not a thing called confusion. It's just you are confused. You become confused. You play in to the game in the hands of the mind. This is what happens. And there are a number of fallen soldiers, as I speak about them. People who seem to have made another choice, and now they're living in the fruit of that choice, seemingly. It may be a relationship, or, somehow suddenly some gift appears that seem like, it's a once-in-a-lifetime offer, but only to bring you out from your final discovery. There are so many. I could etch their names, because almost once they have taken that step, it's very difficult to retrieve or to come back in line with their natural harmony again. This is the force you have to. Not everybody. Some people are so settled into that inner certitude, and others waver. Sometimes a bit close, and sometimes a bit far. And sometimes my own self, I found this in the presence of Papaji, that I sat in front of him for 3 months, listening to the satsangs and listening to people like this, but always one hand on his chest, like, it's enough. I need to retain something, some distance, something. In my mind, it felt true. It felt like just not sure about him. Sometimes my master would say some story from the newspapers you'd read or something, and he started to give some account of it and say some things that just seemed to be really inaccurate. And my mind would pick up and go, if he was really a master, he wouldn't have made that mistake. And you don't sense that it really is irrelevant, but your mind is climbing on it and riding it. You see, if he was really true, he wouldn't have made this kind of mistake. As a way to keep avoiding, to postpone the opportunity of really meeting him. Mind was telling but if he was Ramana now, it would be very different. Because Ramana, is the real thing. But how do you know? Your mind is playing this game with you. And so when I had the opportunity to sit in front of the Master, at his feet. In that moment when the light of his attention was focused on me, all this resistance was coming up, which was before hiding and, being very clever and excusing and finding ways to manipulate your own thinking to tell yourself, well, you're on top of the game. But caught in the laser light of his presence, something began to wobble, like it just could not hide. Why? Because I myself had made a step to come forward. And it was a terrible shaking. And only after that crisis, I had the opportunity to then feel and accept and acknowledge this is my Master. And only then I realized, before, I was not in love. I was in avoidance. Or you say clever things to your friends and you talk the advice talk and so on. But something inside is hiding. That's my story, part of it. And I come through it to know and to see sometimes, just a sense of keeping a distance, or, holding my own life, doing my own thing, finding my own way. But you're still following your mind. This is the most cunning thing. It's still an avoidance of really meeting your own self, or being your full self. Because the virus is already inside, doing its work. Running on a scholarship from you. And it will make things outside seem more attractive, more enticing. Another possibility. Another step taken. And slowly, slowly you drift off with your mind and leave your heart. So something has been just like, I needed to say this, because as I'm speaking now, something is very much feeling the space again. Somehow, I don't know for whom these words are. But they come. And if you are up for it, there comes a time when there are no corners left in you for anything to hide. There's just nowhere for anything really to hide. In terms of truth. I'm not talking about personal. No, I'm talking of truth.
Mooji, when these things come, what to do?
Well, the very speaking about them and bringing them out into the open is already, washing out the cobwebs and the hiding places. Then you are more aware of it. You're more easily aware. Not so quick to believe your mind. Because the power of the mind actually is in its subtlety. That it seems somehow to mimic the self. But it can only do that as long as you're a little bit blind to the truth.
This is it will reveal itself to you in whatever form you desire. Manifest or unmanifest. God is this love.